exercise in verb pattern, let's know first what verb patterns are. Verb patterns refer to what follows a verb. So in a sentence, anything that comes after a verb should have patterns, and that's what we call as verb patterns. For examples, some verbs can stand alone, as in sentence, they laughed. The word laugh doesn't need to be followed by anything. And then other verbs have to be followed by an object. For example, in sentence like they loved cats. Cats is an object that should follow the verb loved. And then there are some other verbs that are followed by objects plus prepositions. For example, in sentence like put it on the table. It is the object that followed the verb put, and then on is the preposition, and the table is the noun phrase. So on the table is also called as prepositional phrase. Some verbs are followed by other verbs in other forms. For example, I hate waiting. Here we have the verb hate and then followed by the verb waiting. It is like the verb, but actually in this sentence, waiting becomes a noun as it is called a gerund. And then I prefer to walk. Prefer here is the verb followed by to plus verb walk, and this is called a to-infinitive. Some other verbs also followed by a clause. For example, the word told. He told us that we were wrong. So usually the verb told is followed by an object and then followed by a clause. That is a conjunction. We were wrong is another clause. We is a subject, were as a verb, and wrong as a complement. Okay, for this material, we need to remember that there are some terminologies used in this paper. S is for the subject, V is for the verb, DO is for direct object, and to-inf as for to-infinitive. Okay, the first verb pattern consists of S plus V plus DO. Subject plus verb plus direct object. Here we have some examples with pattern subject, verb, and direct object. The first example, I know your name. I is the subject, know as the verb, your name is the direct object. And then this is another example is a question. Do you want any help? Do is an auxiliary, something that help the verb in a question or in a negative sentence. You is the subject, want is the verb, and then any help is the direct object. Who knows the answer? This is another question using question word who. Who also becomes the subject because it replaces the subject. Knows is the verb and the answer is the direct object. And in negative sentence, you didn't answer my question. You is the subject, didn't is the auxiliary that help the verb here. The verb is answer. My question is the direct object. Okay, now we'll try to make the interrogative sentence. To make an interrogative sentence having yes or no answer, you need to check the tense of the verb. For example, in example 1, they practice the conversation. We check first what tense is included in this verb. We have the word practiced having ed at the end of the word. So this is a past simple. So how to make the question yes or no using past simple? We put the auxiliary did before the subject they, and when we put the practice into practice without ed, because this is the bare infinitive, or we call it as verb 1, and then followed by the direct object, the conversation. Now let's check the example 2. Mary had breakfast. Is it a past perfect because it has a had here? No, it is not. Had here is not a past perfect because it is not followed by a past participle verb. In past perfect, what should follow a had here is past participle verb, or verb 3. But here we have breakfast, which is a noun. So it means that breakfast here is a direct object for the verb had. It means that had here is a past simple. So to make it into question yes or no, we put the same thing, auxiliary did, and then subject Mary, and put had into its bare infinitive have. Breakfast. Did Mary have breakfast? To ask question about the subject, use question with who. To ask question about the direct object, use question with what for thing or whom for person. Okay, the first example. John bought a book yesterday. Because we will ask who, we will ask the person, which the answer is John. So we use who as the question word. Who bought a book yesterday? Okay, look at the pattern that after who we do not put any auxiliary. We go directly to the verb. Who bought a book yesterday? Because this is a simple past, so we put both as its simple past verb. And then when we ask the book as the answer, we use what. What did John buy yesterday? It refers to the answer, a book here. And then second example. John met Mary yesterday. Here we want to ask Mary as the answer. So we put whom to ask the object person, and then the auxiliary, and then the subject, the verb, bare infinitive form from the word met, and then yesterday as the adverb of time. Whom did John meet yesterday? Okay, now we'll go on to verb pattern 2. In verb pattern 2, we have pattern S plus V plus to infinitive, or not to infinitive. Okay, we have some examples. The first example, please try to do better next time. Okay, where is the subject in the first sentence? Actually, this sentence has a subject, but it is inserted, or it is not mentioned here. Since we have understood that the subject here is you, please, you try to do better next time. So actually there is a subject here, but it is not mentioned, or in Indonesian term we call it as diucapkan. So here there is a subject. Try as the verb. This is to do as the to infinitive. And the question, they want to go. This is a question sentence. Do as the auxiliary, they as subject, want as the verb, and then to go as to infinitive. Now we'll make a negative sentence. He decided not to go. He is subject, decided verb, not is for the negative, and then followed by to go. And would you like to come with me? Would here as the question word. Subject is you, verb is like, and then followed by to come as the to infinitive. Okay, there are some common verbs followed by to infinitive. For example, agree, as in sentence like she agreed to speak before the game. Or we have the word like decide. She decided to go home earlier. Or we have the word try. I try to understand the material. Okay, so these are some common verbs. You can add it later. Okay, so this is the material for today. If you have any question, you may ask in our WhatsApp group. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.